And that is basically just adapting these trays. Now, these trays are 69p for two, and I'm sure you get them in the US and Australia. I'm sure you do. And what you do is you just fold up the sides so that the sides are now straight rather than have a sort of an edge. And then you try and use your finger to get it as at a 90-degree angle with the base. And then you just fold it over like you would sort of if you were making a bed. And the whole fold really supports the whole tray. And the whole thing actually just became so much more sturdy. How well they just butt up, leaving no wasted space on the shelving in your greenhouse. This system just, first of all, filling the trays was just so quick. Making the trays was so quick. And the hot sewing the trays was just so quick, quicker than I've ever had with any other pot or variety. They fit on the potting table while I was filling them up. They fit, on the in the greenhouse. They were just so versatile and tough. But these were the ones I made into smaller plant pots. And the great thing about these little diddy ones is that you can use them obviously as separate plant pots. You can use them to sow, say for instance, I use them for starting herbs because they're a nice size for starting herbs. But you can also use them with more delicate seeds that need to be watered from the bottom because they happen to fit perfectly inside the larger trays, just like so. So obviously you wouldn't put drainage holes in the bottom one if you're going to do that. You just put drainage holes in the smaller one. So sorry about the angle here. Here's me showing you just quickly how I make the holes. So you just need some sort of soft bottom because you don't want to ruin the shape of them when you're trying to poke the holes in them. And as I said, look how easy they are just to fill up in a few handfuls. They are full rather than faffing about with those round pots or individual cells. I just literally threw it in and then you can stack the next one straight on top and fill that one up as well. The whole thing was done in sort of 10 minutes. It took me a bit longer because I was filming, but it was just so efficient. As I said, I am never going back to the old way. I'm always going to use these trays as long as I can get hold of them. Now, to prove what I was saying about how solid they are, look at this. You can just pick them up with one hand like that. No flopping about, the edges falling off. They just stayed absolutely solid. And in fact, I was able to stack 4 and carry 4 this way. And I can reuse them. So I'm not going to be buying them every year over and over. I can just swill them out. They're much easier to empty out than those plastic containers. And here I am watering them and they drained brilliantly. They just drained really fast. And I was able to use the bottom tray here to just fill up with water and then water those 4 little ones separate from the bottom. By the time I carried those to the table, the little trays had soaked up all the water from the bottom tray. So why not use them? Honestly, I love them.